The Violent Ones, Prequel, a violent year opening song, Anthem of the Angels, by Breaking Benjamin. 1997 Episode 1, Sledgehammer, Anthem of the Angels. In the vibrant heart of San Francisco, 1997 was a year of change, innovation, and hidden battles that raged beyond the perception of ordinary citizens. Amongst the bustling streets and iconic landscapes, two extraordinary figures stood as guardians of the city, Dr. Cameron Ford and his wife, Dr. Rachel Ford, known to the world as the Sledgehammer and Ms. Sledgehammer. With powers rivaling the might of Superman and the regenerative abilities of Wolverine, they were a formidable duo. But Rachel brought something unique to the table, her telepathic prowess and the terrifying ability to make heads explode with a mere thought. One fateful evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue over the bay, the couple received an urgent call from their friend Mia Madsen, a powerful witch and seasoned hunter. Mia's voice crackled through the phone, laced with urgency. "Cameron, Rachel, I need your help. There's a girl named Matilda Davidson, a pure soul of good. Samael has sent demons to corrupt her, and Gabriel wants to extract her soul, to erase her from existence. We need to protect her." Without hesitation, the two heroes donned their costumes, blending their identities as doctors and superheroes seamlessly. They raced to the address Mia provided, a dilapidated building in a forgotten part of the city. As they arrived, the air crackled with dark energy, and the foreboding presence of evil loomed. Inside, Matilda, a bright-eyed teenager with an aura of innocence, sat surrounded by shadows that twisted and writhed like living nightmares. The demons, grotesque manifestations of despair, whispered insidiously, attempting to sow seeds of doubt and darkness within her. "Stay close, Matilda," Cameron shouted, his voice booming like thunder as he charged into the room, fists clenched and ready. Rachel followed closely, her mind reaching out, sensing the demon's intentions. With a flick of her wrist, Rachel unleashed a wave of psychic energy, sending several demons crashing against the walls. Their shrieks echoed in the dimly lit room. "You won't take her," she declared, her eyes ablaze with determination. But the battle was far from over. As the couple fought valiantly, a portal opened, and from it emerged Samael himself, cloaked in darkness, his eyes burning with malice. "You think you can protect her?" he taunted, his voice smooth as silk. "She belongs to me. Not if we have anything to say about it," Cameron roared, launching himself at the fallen angel. Their clash sent shockwaves through the building, shaking it to its very foundations. Meanwhile, Rachel focused on Matilda, shielding her from the chaos. "You're stronger than you know, Matilda. Don't let them get to you," she urged, her telepathy reaching deep into the girl's heart, fortifying her spirit against the encroaching darkness. As the battle raged, Gabriel appeared, his celestial form radiant yet fierce. "Brother, we must reclaim what is ours," he said, his voice echoing with authority. It became clear that the two brothers were now united in their goal to capture Matilda. Cameron and Rachel exchanged a determined glance. "We can't let them win," Rachel said, her mind racing to formulate a plan. "If we can separate them, we might stand a chance." With a battle cry, Cameron charged at Samael, drawing his attention away. Rachel focused her telepathic abilities, reaching out to Gabriel. "You don't have to do this, Gabriel. She's just a girl," she implored, trying to reach the remnants of goodness within him. But Gabriel's resolve was unyielding. "She is a threat to our existence," he shouted, summoning a blinding light to strike at Rachel. In that moment, Cameron, fueled by rage and love for his wife, intercepted the attack, absorbing the blow meant for her. "Cameron!" Rachel cried, her heart racing as she felt his pain. But as the light faded, Cameron stood tall, his regenerative powers kicking in, healing him almost instantaneously. The couple regrouped, their bond stronger than ever. "Together," Cameron said, his voice steady. "Let's end this." With synchronized precision, they unleashed their powers. Cameron's strength met Rachel's psychic force, creating a vortex of energy that engulfed Samael and Gabriel. The two brothers struggled against the onslaught, but the combined might of the Sledgehammer and Ms. Sledgehammer proved overwhelming. Your plans end here. Rachel shouted, her focus sharpening as she directed her energy toward the brothers. With a final surge, the vortex exploded outward, banishing Samael to hell, and Gabriel was injured and he disappeared in a portal. As the dust settled, the room fell silent. Matilda, trembling yet unbroken, looked at her saviors with wide eyes. "Thank you," she whispered, tears of relief streaming down her face. Cameron knelt beside her, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. "You're safe now, Matilda. We'll protect you." Rachel smiled warmly, her heart swelling with pride. "You have a light within you that can never be extinguished. Together, we'll ensure it shines brightly." With the threat neutralized, the trio exited the building, the first rays of dawn breaking over the horizon. San Francisco awoke anew, unaware of the battle fought in its shadows, but the legacy of the Sledgehammer and Ms. Sledgehammer would continue to protect the innocent, standing as a beacon of hope against the encroaching darkness. Rachel and Cameron dropped Matilda's off at her parents', who has been protected by Sledgehammer's protégés Jonathan aka Weed Man, who uses marijuana to give him superpowers, and his girlfriend Lily, who is a shapeshifter in a town called New Haven. Rachel and Cameron look at Matilda being reunited with her parents, and bring a tear to their eyes as the song Angels Fell by Breaking Benjamin plays softly. Episode 2, The Weed Man and the Shapeshifter California Love, Remix, plays by Tupac as Jonathan and Lily are driving around San Francisco during rush hour. Moments later, Jonathan Cross, also known as the Weed Man, sat in his office in San Francisco, taking a long drag from his joint. He had just finished a particularly difficult case, and he needed to relax. As the smoke filled his lungs, he felt a surge of energy coursing through his veins. He could feel the power coursing through him. Just then, his girlfriend Lily burst into the room. She was a paramedic and firefighter. "Jonathan, we have a new case," Lily said, her eyes shining with excitement. "A supernatural hunter named Roger Shutter has hired us to track down a possessed gang leader named Antoine Washington. He's been taken over by a demon named Ruin, the Prince of Lies." Jonathan's mentors, Dr. Cameron Ford and Dr. Rachel Ford, also known as the Sledgehammer and Ms. Sledgehammer, had warned him about Ruin. The demon had been banished from hell by Lucifer himself, and he was not to be underestimated. Jonathan and Lily set out to track down Antoine Washington, the possessed gang leader. They knew that Ruin had created an army of possessed gang members to do his bidding, and they needed to stop him before he could take over San Francisco. As they searched the city, they could feel the dark energy emanating from the possessed gang members. They were like puppets, controlled by Ruin's twisted will. Jonathan and Lily knew that they had to act fast before it was too late. Just then, Jophiel, the archangel and little sister of Lucifer, appeared before them. She had been watching over them, knowing that they would need her help in their battle against Ruin. "Jonathan, Lily, I am here to help you in your fight against Ruin," Jophiel said, her voice filled with determination. "Together, we can defeat him and banish him back to hell where he belongs." Jonathan and Lily nodded, grateful for Jophiel's assistance. They knew that they were facing a powerful enemy, but with Jophiel by their side, they felt confident that they could emerge victorious. Jonathan, Lily, and Jophiel tracked down Antoine Washington and his army of possessed gang members to an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of San Francisco. They could feel the dark energy pulsating from within, and they knew that Ruin was waiting for them inside. As they entered the warehouse, they were met with a horde of possessed gang members, their eyes glowing with malice. Ruin stood at the center, his dark form towering over them. "You cannot defeat me, mortals," Ruin hissed, his voice filled with malice. "I am the Prince of Lies, and I will not be banished so easily." But Jonathan, Lily, and Jophiel stood their ground, their powers combining to create a barrier of light that pushed back against Ruin's darkness. They fought with all their might, their determination unwavering. Finally, with a final burst of energy, Jonathan unleashed his full power, sending Ruin back to hell where he belonged. The possessed gang members fell to the ground, their eyes returning to normal as the dark energy dissipated. As they emerged from the warehouse, Jonathan, Lily knew that they had saved San Francisco from Ruin's grasp. They were true heroes, using their powers for good and protecting the city from supernatural threats. Jophiel vanishes and she reappears in Purgatory, which resembles Las Vegas in the 1950s, and she is walking through a casino and a man in a blue velvet suit turns around wearing sunglasses says, "Is that motherfucker ruined dead?" Jophiel smiles and kisses the man and says, "The sledgehammer's pupils did the job well, Wade. Samajal will be grateful to you for getting rid of that pest." Ending song, Natural Born Killers, by Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg. Episode 3, Dalton Wilcox, The Rise of the Super Agent **** Opening song, I Will Not Bow by Breaking Benjamin. Dalton Wilcox sits in his car, the engine humming softly. The prison gates loom ahead, stark and foreboding. Shadows dance across his face, highlighting the weight of his mission. Dalton Wilcox sat in his car, the engine idling softly as he stared at the prison gates ahead. Close-up of Dalton's hand gripping the phone, the screen glowing with Jimmy's name. Dalton, thinking Mickey and Mallory are out there, wreaking havoc. I need to bring them down. Dalton's determined face and Jimmy's calm demeanor on the other side of the call. Jimmy, use your gift, Dalton. Listen to the victims, let them guide you. Dalton's expression shifts to one of resolve as he hangs up the phone. Dalton, thinking, I won't let the dead down. Justice will be served. Detective Jack Stagnetti approaches, frustration etched on his face. Jack, what are you doing, Wilcox? We need to focus on capturing them. Dalton meets Jack's gaze, determination sparking in his eyes. Dalton, let's go, Jack. We have a job to do. Montage of Dalton and Jack chasing leads, each scene darker and more chaotic than the last. Days turned into weeks as they followed leads that often felt like chasing shadows. The duo finally corner Mickey and Mallory in an abandoned warehouse. A standoff that would test their resolve. Gunfire erupts, bullets flying in every direction. Dalton stands firm, surrounded by the whispers of the dead, guiding his aim. Each shot fired was a promise to the souls who had suffered. Dalton and Jack stand victorious, but battered, breathing heavily. Dalton, we did it, Jack. We finally got them. Jack smirks, a glimmer of satisfaction in his eyes. Jack, now let's make sure they pay for what they've done. A live TV interview with Wayne Gale and Mickey Knox, the tension palpable. Wayne, so, Mickey, what do you have to say for yourself? Mickey grins, his eyes glinting with mischief. Mickey, I'm just a man fighting demons, Wayne. Just like you. Dalton sits in his car, unease creeping over him. Dalton, thinking, this doesn't feel right. I need to be prepared. Chaos erupts as a riot breaks out in the prison. Inmates storm the halls, screams echoing through the prison. Dalton dons heavy armor, grabbing his assault rifle. Dalton, I knew it. Let's finish this. He charges into the fray, the whispers of the dead guiding him. Each step he took was a step toward justice. Dalton, armed and ready, moves through the chaos like a shadow. A close-up of Dalton's face, fierce determination shining in his eyes. All hell breaks loose as Dalton becomes a legend. Mickey and Mallory, having killed Detective Jack Stagnetti, spot Dalton and smirk. Mallory, this is where you die. They hop into a van with Wayne Gale as Dalton turns, realizing the danger. Dalton, thinking no, not like this. A horde of armed prisoners rushes toward Dalton, guns empty. Dalton drops his empty guns and pulls out a large knife, a fierce smile on his face. Dalton, let's dance. Dalton charges into the horde, dodging attacks with superhuman agility. He dispatches prisoners with brutal efficiency, blood splattering across his face. With the guidance of the dead, Dalton becomes a force of nature. SWAT teams arrive, shocked by the scene of carnage. Dalton stands amidst the chaos, covered in blood, half the prisoners dead around him. The FBI SWAT finds a legend where chaos once reigned. Dalton walks out of the prison, the weight of the world still on his shoulders, but a fire ignited in his soul. A wide shot of the prison behind him, smoke rising, and chaos still echoing in the distance. Dalton Wilcox, the super agent, emerges from the shadows. Dalton looks toward the horizon, determination etched on his face. Dalton, thinking this is just the beginning. The final camera panel zooms out, showing the prison in the background, a silent witness to the chaos and a new legend born. Dalton Wilcox emerged from the chaos of the prison, his heart racing and adrenaline pumping through his veins. The chaotic riot had transformed him into something more, a figure of vengeance, a living embodiment of justice. As he staggered out into the glaring sunlight, blood-soaked and breathless, he could already hear the whispers of the dead calling to him, guiding him toward his next move. The chaos inside the prison had been surreal. He had fought with a ferocity that surprised even himself, channeling the spirits of those who had suffered at the hands of Mickey and Mallory. Each swing of his knife had been more than a strike, it had been a release for the pent-up anger of the lost souls that haunted him. He could still see their faces, their pained expressions urging him onward. With the FBI SWAT team arriving to secure the prison, Dalton felt a momentary flicker of relief. They would ensure the safety of what was left. But he couldn't linger, he had unfinished business. He needed to catch Mickey and Mallory before they slipped away, before their chaos spread like wildfire once again. He jumped into his car, the engine roaring to life. As he sped away from the prison, he could feel the weight of the dead pressing down on him, their whispers becoming clearer, more insistent. Follow the blood, they seemed to say, guiding him to where the chaos would lead. Meanwhile, in a dimly lit van speeding down the highway, Mickey and Mallory reveled in their victory. Wayne Gale, the charismatic host, was bound and gagged in the back, terror glinting in his eyes as he witnessed the chaos they had unleashed. Mickey laughed, his voice dripping with arrogance. "Did you see their faces, Wayne? Priceless. We've turned this place upside down." Mallory, still buzzing with adrenaline, leaned over to Mickey, her eyes wide with exhilaration. "And now we get to have some fun on the outside. Just think of the headlines. Knox's escape. Chaos reigns." But beneath their bravado, they both felt the tension in the air. They knew Dalton was relentless, that he wouldn't stop until he had them. "I wonder how long it'll take for him to figure out where we're headed," Mickey mused, a wicked grin spreading across his face. Dalton drove with a singular focus, the road blurring beneath him as he pushed the limits of speed. He could feel the dead guiding him, their whispers growing louder as he neared a familiar stretch of highway, the one leading to the old amusement park where Mickey and Mallory had once staged their most infamous escape. "Of course," he muttered to himself, a grim smile forming. "They think they're clever." He skidded to a halt just outside the park, the rusted gates creaking ominously in the wind. As he stepped out, he could feel the air thick with anticipation. The ghosts of the past surrounded him, their energy pulsating, urging him onward. "Let's finish this," he said, his voice a low growl. Inside the amusement park, Mickey and Mallory had begun to set up their final act of chaos, but they were not prepared for the storm that was approaching. Dalton moved through the park like a shadow, slipping past the remnants of joy that had long since faded. Abandoned rides creaked under the weight of time, and the laughter of children seemed to echo in the distance, a stark contrast to the violence that was about to unfold. Mickey, feeling a chill run down his spine, looked around nervously. "Did you hear that?" he asked, scanning the darkness. Mallory rolled her eyes, dismissing his concern. "It's just the wind, Mickey. Focus on the plan." But as they turned to continue their preparations, the shadows coalesced, revealing Dalton standing at the edge of the Ferris wheel, illuminated by the moonlight. He was a fearsome sight, his bloodied knife gleaming as he stepped forward. "Game over, Knox's," he declared, his voice steady and resolute. Mickey and Mallory exchanged glances, their earlier confidence wavering. "You think you can take us?" Mickey shouted, his bravado returning as he reached for his weapon. "I don't think, I know," Dalton replied, and with that, he charged forward, driven by the spirits urging him on. The ensuing battle was a whirlwind of fury and chaos. Dalton fought with the strength of 100 men, dodging bullets and delivering powerful strikes that sent Mickey and Mallory reeling. Each blow he landed felt like a cathartic release, a way to honor the lives lost to their reign of terror. "Get him, Mallory!" Mickey yelled, desperation creeping into his voice. But Dalton was relentless. With each passing moment, he felt the weight of the dead behind him, their energy fueling his every movement. He was no longer just a man, he was a force of nature. As he cornered Mickey, the cocky grin faded from his face, replaced with fear. "You can't do this. You're just fucking cop." Dalton's response was swift and brutal. "I'm your reckoning." With one final strike, he brought Mickey to the ground, the knife poised at his throat, the ghosts of the past watching intently. Mallory, now cornered, screamed in rage and despair. "You'll never win. We are in chaos. We are unstoppable." Dalton leaned in closer, his dark eyes unwavering. "Not anymore. Punishment is here, and it's time for you to pay." As the lights of the amusement park flickered above them, the whispers of the dead crescendoed, and Dalton knew this was just the beginning of his legacy. He was no longer just Dalton Wilcox, he had become a legend, a super agent of punishment. Ending song, Tourniquet by Breaking Benjamin. Episode 4, Inspector No Mercy. Opening song, Spark by Tori Amos. The bitter wind howled through the narrow streets of Transylvania, carrying whispers of old legends and lingering shadows of the past. Valentina Roma stood on the cobbled pathway, her coat wrapped tightly around her frame, blending into the dim light of the street lamps that flickered like dying stars. The year was 1997, but for Valentina, time had long lost its meaning. Once known to the world as Joan of Arc, Valentina had risen from the ashes of her own martyrdom, gifted, or perhaps cursed, with immortality. She had lived through centuries, witnessing the rise and fall of empires, and now, in this quiet corner of Eastern Europe, she found herself embroiled in a battle that felt eerily reminiscent of her past. Her heart raced as she recalled the revelations of her lineage. Raphael, the archangel, was her father. The weight of this knowledge had driven her to embark on a quest for connection, only to find herself entangled in a web of betrayal and darkness. In her absence, the world had shifted, and now she worked with Interpol to dismantle the Irish Republican Army, whose leader, Griffin Salisbury, had set his sights on Transylvania. Valentina's thoughts turned towards the Countess Lamora, her father's former wife, who had once been a figure of beauty and grace. The tales of their love, like the mist that rolled over the mountains, were now tainted with blood. Lamora's transformation into a vampire by Dracula had twisted her heart, and the Countess had become a scourge upon the very townspeople Valentina had sworn to protect. As dusk descended, Valentina made her way to the ancient castle that loomed over the town, a fortress that had once been a refuge for her father's pirates. Now, it was a reminder of the sins that haunted her bloodline. The castle walls echoed with the memories of past battles fought against Dracula, a tyrant who had once imprisoned Lamora and turned her into a creature of the night. Valentina, a voice called from the shadows, and she turned to see Lamora emerging from the darkness. The Countess's presence was magnetic, her beauty unearthly, but Valentina could see the decay within. "You've returned." "Lamora," Valentina replied, her voice steady. "We need to talk about Griffin Salisbury and the chaos he has unleashed upon this town." Lamora's eyes gleamed with a predatory hunger. "Chaos can be beautiful, my dear. It is the way of the world, and we must embrace our true natures." Valentina shook her head, her resolve hardening like steel. "You've become just like Dracula. You're killing the innocent to feed your thirst. I won't let this continue." The Countess laughed, a sound that echoed unnaturally in the stillness. "And what will you do, Valentina? You think you can take me down?" The next days were a blur of strategic planning and clandestine meetings. The IRA had allied themselves with Russian mercenaries, and together they sought to seize control of Transylvania, turning the picturesque landscape into a battlefield. Valentina, now a reluctant leader, gathered her own forces, former pirates loyal to her father's legacy, local townsfolk, and even a few rogue vampires who still remembered the fear of Dracula. As dawn broke over the hills, Valentina stood atop the castle battlements, her eyes scanning the horizon. The air was thick with tension, the scent of impending conflict swirling around her. "Today, we fight not just for our freedom, but for the souls of our people," she declared, her voice rising above the murmurs of her comrades. Suddenly, a horn sounded in the distance, and the ground trembled beneath the advance of Salisbury's forces. Valentina's heart raced, but she felt an unyielding spirit surge within her. She was not just fighting for Transylvania, she was fighting for her past, her family, and the legacy of Raphael. The clash of swords and the roar of gunfire filled the air as day turned into night. Valentina fought valiantly, her movements a fluid dance of strength and grace honed over centuries. She swung her sword with precision, her mind focused on her ultimate goal, confronting Salisbury and Lamora. As the battle raged on, Valentina confronted Salisbury within the crumbling walls of the castle. "You've brought nothing but devastation to this land," she said, glaring at him. "You'll pay for your crimes." Salisbury smirked, his eyes glinting with malice. "You think you're the hero in this story? We're all but pawns, Valentina. You're no different from Lamora." With a fierce determination, Valentina lunged forward, her sword slicing through the air, and the battle between them became a brutal symphony of chaos. Just as it seemed Salisbury would gain the upper hand, a shadow fell over them. Lamora had arrived, her vampiric form exuding an aura of danger. "This ends now," she hisses in the final confrontation. Valentina faced both Salisbury and Lamora. The clash of power and will was palpable, the fate of Transylvania hanging in the balance. In a moment of desperation, Valentina called upon the strength of her father, Raphael's spirit guiding her hand. With a final, defiant cry, she unleashed a surge of light that enveloped the dark figures before her. The aura of purity shattered Lamora's hold over her, revealing the woman she had once been. For a fleeting moment, Valentina saw the flicker of humanity behind Lamora's cold eyes, and Valentina dropped her sword and said, "Did you forget who you were? Did you forget the pact we made, Lamora? I know that the thirst has beaten you. But you are the only keeping Dracula locked in his cage, and if I killed you now, who will keep the monster locked up?" Lamora's memories come flushed of the vow she made with Valentina centuries ago. "Just kill me now, Valentina. I deserve it," and Lamora gets up and turns her back towards Valentina and says, "Go ahead, finish it and show me no mercy, be your father's daughter," and as Valentina raises her sword to take off Lamora's head. Salisbury opens fire on Valentina. Lamora, realizing that she was saved from the blade, fled to her castle. Valentina is all shot up and her wounds start healing, and Salisbury is stalking her with his automatic weapon as the sun begins to rise and more Interpol agents show up. Salisbury begins to mow the Interpol agents and Valentina calls out to Salisbury, and she jumps out and slices Salisbury's face off and jams the sword in his sword, and she takes the automatic weapon and opens fire on Salisbury, and shoots him to pieces and drops to the ground. Valentina drops the gun and pulls out her sword, which has the name, Queen of the Sea, embroidered on the blade. Valentina stood at the edge of the dock, looking out at the town she had fought to protect. The legacy of her father and the ghosts of her past would always be with her, but as Valentina makes her way back to town and she sees Lamora's blood trail, which leads back to her castle, and Valentina yells out to the castle and says, "Lamora, I am going to stick around so the next innocent person that dies because of you, it will be my only reason to kill you." The world awaited her, filled with adventure and the promise of redemption. With a determined heart, Valentina Roma, the immortal warrior, walked forward into the light, ready to embrace whatever challenges lay ahead. Ending song, No Mercy by Death by Romy. Episode V, The Prince's Bargain. Opening song, Ambitious of Arita by Tupac. In the underbelly of New York City, where the neon lights flicker like the souls of the damned, Antony Valor, the firstborn son of Lucifer and Lilith, roamed the darkened streets with an air of authority. He was a man of charisma, draped in a tailored black suit that shimmered under the city lights, and his penetrating gaze held a weight of ages that few could bear. At his side, Cleopatra, his beautiful queen with raven-black hair and emerald eyes, walked with the grace of a panther, her presence a mesmerizing blend of allure and danger. But Antony was a man of contradictions. In a penthouse that overlooked Central Park, He shared not only a life with Cleopatra but also with Ariel, a vibrant indie rock star in London who had a penchant for chaos and the supernatural. Ariel, the former wife of Dracula, now imprisoned by Countess Lamora in a crumbling Transylvanian castle, was a siren of the night. Her voice echoed through the smoky bars of Soho, drawing in crowds who unwittingly danced with the devil. Antony was a broker of souls, offering fame and fortune to the desperate souls of Hollywood and the rap scene. He made promises that glittered like gold but were laced with treachery. They came to him, young and hungry, yearning for success, and he granted their desires. But the contract was simple: failure to uphold their end of the bargain would end in a catastrophic demise, much like the tragic fates of Marilyn Monroe, JFK, Elvis, Notorious B.I.G., and Tupac. But now the stakes were higher than ever. Antony had become a mogul, weaving through the corridors of power with ease, but the supernatural factions he ruled were in disarray. The faction, a coalition of vampires, ghouls, witches, warlocks, and werewolves, was embroiled in an internal war, and it was his right-hand man, Julian Kane, who bore the weight of the chaos, unbeknownst to him that he was the son of the very man orchestrating it all. Julian, a rugged warlock with a penchant for leather jackets and an insatiable thirst for control, was caught in the crosshairs of a supernatural war. The werewolves and vampires were on the brink of annihilation, and the witches and warlocks were fracturing under the pressure. He sought unity, a way to bring peace among the factions, but the shadows whispered of a new threat: the Judgment Team. Led by Joey Summers, a former Special Forces operative turned monster hunter, this battalion of relentless hunters was on a mission to eradicate the faction. Julian felt the weight of this looming threat and knew Antony needed to act. "Antony!" Julian shouted, storming into the penthouse, where Cleopatra stood pouring a glass of crimson wine. "We have a problem. The Judgment Team is closing in, and they're stronger than we anticipated." Antony's expression darkened, a storm brewing behind his eyes. "Then we'll deal with them, as we always have. But first, we must quell the infighting within the faction." With a flick of his wrist, he summoned a shimmering portal, revealing the chaotic scenes of the supernatural factions. Antony's voice was low, commanding. "I will take control of the faction. The leaders will fall, and I will appoint those who are loyal to me." As Julian digested his father's words, a shiver of realization crept up his spine. He had been given a mission: to find the 6 keys that would unlock the gates of hell, a task daunting enough to make even the most powerful tremble. "And if I fail?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. Antony leaned closer, a devilish grin spreading across his face. "Failure is not an option, my son. Succeed, and you will have power beyond your wildest dreams. Fail, and you'll wish the hunters had gotten to you first." The hunters were relentless, and the grip of destiny was tightening around Julian's throat. As he ventured into the depths of the city, seeking the keys, Antony unleashed his wrath upon the leaders of the faction, sending their names to the Judgment Team, who executed them without remorse. With the faction's hierarchy crumbling, Antony and Julian stood at the precipice of power. The streets of New York were drenched in blood, and the Judgment Team was closing in. In a final, desperate bid, Antony confronted Joey Summers in a derelict warehouse, the air thick with tension. "Do you think you can kill the devil's son?" Antony sneered, his hand crackling with dark energy. "You know nothing of the forces you're meddling with." Joey, undeterred, stood his ground. "I've hunted monsters my whole life. You're just another beast that needs to be put down." The final battle raged, a whirlwind of supernatural chaos that echoed through the city. As Julian raced against time to find the keys and unite the factions, Antony fought with a ferocity that left the hunters reeling. Blood flowed, and the night was painted red. Julian was only able to find 3 keys. 2 of the keys are in the hands of Mia Madsen, a very powerful witch whose ex-husband used to be a hunter, but now she is a part of an organization that is run by the Catholic Church who hunt vampires known as slayers. Not be confused with the women hunters known as slayers, those are completely different from each other. In the end, it was not the physical strength of Antony Valor that would determine the fate of the faction, but the bonds of loyalty and the secrets of the past that would either bind them together or tear them apart. As the dust settled, Antony, with his heart heavy with the weight of his choices, realized that the true power lay not in the deals made, but in the connections forged. With the hunters defeated and the faction under his control, Antony Valor looked out over the city he had once ruled with fear. He had a choice to make: to continue the cycle of darkness or to forge a new path for the supernatural beings who called this city home. As the sun began to rise, casting golden rays over the skyline, Antony knew that the world was changing, and perhaps, just perhaps, it was time for the Devil's Son to embrace a different kind of power, one rooted in unity and redemption. And in that moment, he felt the stirrings of hope, a glimmer of light in the darkness that had consumed him for so long. Antony grabs a bottle of wine and pours himself a glass, and he sees Cleopatra come out the shower and drink his glass, and he says to the camera, "It's all uphill from here, now baby." Ending song, the next episode by Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg. Episode 6, Rocking with Grudges **** opening song, Breathe by Breaking Benjamin. The sun dipped low over the vibrant cityscape of Tokyo, casting a warm glow across the bustling streets. Charlie Brewster, known to millions as the Rock Meister, stood on the balcony of his hotel, taking in the breathtaking scenery. His wife, Amy, joined him, her laughter echoing like a sweet melody against the backdrop of the city. They had just wrapped up a sold-out concert, and the adrenaline still coursed through Charlie's veins. "Can you believe we're finally here?" Amy exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Japan is incredible." Charlie nodded, a grin spreading across his face. "And it's even better when I get to share it with you." He wrapped his strong arms around her, feeling the warmth of their connection. Later that evening, they visited a dedicated fan named Nicholas Ronan, a young man whose passion for Charlie's music was only rivaled by his admiration for the rock star's superhuman abilities. Nicholas's grandfather had once trained Charlie in the ancient ways of the blood Ronin, a legacy that Charlie had embraced as part of his identity. As they sat together, sharing stories, Charlie mentioned his grandmother, a Japanese woman named Keiko Aramuka, who had faced prejudice when she married Mickey Brewster, a soldier who had fought valiantly in World War II. Nicholas's eyes widened as he connected the dots. "Wait, your grandmother was Keiko Aramuka?" he asked, incredulous. "My grandfather spoke of cousin named Keiko, who married an American and moved to Texas. That makes us cousins. Can you believe it?" Charlie mused, a twinkle of mischief in his eyes. "I'm in the land of my ancestors." Nicholas Ronan, with his gentle demeanor and deep respect for tradition, had shared the teachings of his grandfather, the way of the blood Ronan. It resonated with Charlie, awakening a sense of pride in his roots. The revelation that they were distant cousins had been a twist of fate, cementing an unbreakable bond between them, and they spent the night bonding over shared stories, laughter, and a few drinks, the air filled with camaraderie. That night, Charlie and Amy retired to their hotel's outdoor hot tub. Amy smiled, her emerald eyes sparkling with curiosity. "Nicholas seems like a great guy. It's amazing how a family can pop up when you least expect it." The stars twinkled above them as they soaked in the warm water, the ambience perfect for romance. Their laughter soon turned into heated whispers and passionate embraces, the world fading away as they lost themselves in each other. The next morning, however, Charlie's carefree spirit was soon overshadowed by dark tidings. News of a demon named Kayako Seki, a vengeful spirit rumored to haunt the living and infect them with a terrible grudge, reached his ears. The townspeople spoke in hushed tones, fear etched on their faces. "I can't let this go unchecked," he declared to Amy, determination etched on his face. "I have to stop her." With his superhuman strength and abilities that rivaled even the likes of Deadpool, Charlie set out to confront the demon. He ventured into the heart of the city, where whispers of Kayako's malevolence grew louder. After a fierce battle, he thought he had vanquished her, only to discover too late that she had followed him to Belgium, wreaking havoc among his loyal fans. In a twisted turn of fate, Kayako killed Charlie 3 times, but each time he returned, unscathed and more furious than before. He was a rock star who couldn't die, and he was determined to protect those he loved. When he realizes that Kayako couldn't kill him, so she will target Amy, the stakes become personal. Fueled by rage and desperation, Charlie called upon his powerful witch friend, Mia Madsen, who had helped him in the past. With a flick of her wrist, she transported herself from San Francisco to Belgium, ready to assist in the battle against the dark spirit. "Let's end this," Mia said, her voice steady as she prepared a ritual to bind Kayako's spirit. Together, they confronted Kayako in the house, where she was brutally murdered and the atmosphere thick with tension. Charlie's fists crackled with energy, and Mia chanted incantations that resonated through the air. Kayako's dead husband comes out of the darkness and attacks Charlie, and Charlie performs his Chinese boxing technique and is bashing him up, and Mia says a spell and it's banished the husband to hell. Mia sees the dead son of Kayako and she says a spell to release his spirit from the house. Mia knows that Kayako won't go easy. She is very powerful spirit and they can fight her all day every day, but it still won't do any good. Kayako's ghostly form darting through the shadows, her eerie wails echoing off the walls. Just when it seemed that defeat was imminent, Charlie unleashed a powerful surge of strength, channeling the spirit of the Blood Ronin within him, which scared even him, and all the memories of all the Blood Ronin that came before him comes flushing towards him, and through his hands a gust of energy comes out of him. "Your grudge ends here," he roared, his voice reverberating like thunder. With a final, desperate strike, he and Mia combined their powers, and together they completely destroyed Kayako, who let out a loud scream and the house began to crumble. They quickly fled from the house, and the whole house caved in and fell into a sinkhole. Breathing heavily, Charlie turned to Mia, gratitude shining in his eyes. "Thank you. I couldn't have done it without you." Mia smiled, her eyes twinkling. "Just another day in the life of a rock star, right?" As they reunited with Amy, who had been anxiously waiting outside the hotel, Charlie pulled her into an embrace. "You're safe now," he whispered, relief washing over him. With the demon defeated and their bond stronger than ever, Charlie, Amy, and Mia left Belgium, ready to continue their world tour. Charlie knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, he would face them head-on, fueled by love, music, and a legacy that connected him to the past. And as he took the stage that night, the cheers of his fans ringing in his ears, he felt invincible, the rock meister, a rock star with the heart of a warrior. Ending song, Crawl by Breaking Benjamin. Now you are ready for the main event. The Violent Ones book.